I pulled up.
I came out a bit early to try and utilize that to slow me down a bit earlier coming into that touch and go. But I think it was just like 10 feet or so too early, so it ended up short tracking me to that first inner clip. I mean, the arch felt okay, but I assume it probably checked up a bit after that touch and go.
Yeah, I would say, you know, like, I'll say like the shape of the line was correct, but we just need to shift it. It looked like everything just needed to shift toward the farther end of the track line, like you said, like 5 or 10 feet.
Okay, yeah, but the first half of the track felt good. Yeah, I tried to pull out some of the flicker initiation and just kind of let it do its thing, and then rather than clutch kicking out to it, I'm just gonna just check the brake for a second, just get the car settled and go.
We're out here in St. Louis for round 6, Formula D. New track layout this year. Last year was the first time coming to this venue. This year they changed up a bit and put us on the other end of the track. So we're running a completely new section of track that they literally just paved maybe a month ago. And so far, I'm really liking the track a lot. I've had plenty of good laps for practice. Felt super dialed in the car and ready for qualifying. So today we got a couple extra laps in for our last practice session before qualifying. I went out, was ready, feeling good. First lap out, I feel I had a really good run, went through, ended up bumping the front inner clip 1 as well as the final inner clip for clip number 2. Giving me a 70 for my first score, which a little lower than I was expecting, but I knew I had some mistakes. I knew I can clean it up for the second round. Coming up to qualifier 2, knew that I had to really step it up this time in order to get the big number, the big scores, the big screen, the big board, big TV. Went hard into the first turn, big smoke, transition out to touch and go, flat all the way through inner clip 1, pull 4, go through touch and go 2. Final transition, big angle, kind of back the car in, go to downshift into the third, start hammering it through for the finish. Go to pull forward or let the tires just start smoking up, and unfortunately missed the gear, ended up grinding the gear a couple times, just couldn't get in to keep the car in drift through the finish line, so I ended up straightening out before the end of the run, kind of shutting down. Fortunately, it gave me a 0 for that second run, so we were just kind of banking on my first qualifying score of a 70 to get us into the show. After qualifying, figured out who we're gonna be battling for tomorrow, which can be Chelsea Denofa. Put me in 30th position for qualifiers, so unfortunately kind of back to bottom of the rank again from being in the top 15 when I was in Seattle. So fortunately pushed me back a bit, but I'm actually pretty comfortable with the track. I'm pretty sure I can get it all together tomorrow, get some good practice in, and really give Chelsea a good battle. So I'm hoping that all works well. We ended up tearing the car apart after qualifying. Was able to rip the transmission apart, just check everything over because I did grind the gear pretty hard. So we ended up changing out the dog faces and the slider or the dog gears themselves to make sure that tomorrow there's gonna be no issues. It's not gonna pop out on us. Give us a fresh surface for shifting, so we shouldn't have any more issues for battles tomorrow. So did you get my 0? Because that was a good one. Goose egg. Well, unfortunately, our day's already over. We went in today, we had about 6 practice laps in for the lead position, 1 in the follow position. I was feeling good, had my line dialed in pretty well, and was ready for our battle with Chelsea Denofa. Pulling up the line with Chelsea, I was super anxious, but really eager to have a good run with my buddy Chelsea. Knew that he's pretty fast out there, he's got a pretty good line, so I needed to really just kind of put on his door and do everything I could to keep up with him. Leave the gates, I able to enter right with him, transition super close to him, get a little separation at the touch and go. Unfortunately, I lifted my rear tires on the touch and go rumble strips and kind of made my car dive in a bit early into the inner clip 1. I knew that if I didn't stay in it, he was gonna end up gapping me, so I got on throttle pretty early, a bit earlier than I was, I think, all day. and started diving into him, and was expecting him to kind of start picking up some speed. Fortunately, when I made contact with him, my front bash bar hit just in front of his rear wheel, kind of hooked his car a bit, and he pretty much did a burnout up my bash bar, launching his car, I think nearly 4 wheels off the ground in front of me. I was able to like briefly just see the bottom of his car. Okay, this is, you know, kind of crazy, whatever's happening, but I just kind of stayed in it, hoping that it was a bump. His car got launched, but he was going to stay in it because I knew that he just doesn't really give up. He was going to go to the end if he could. At that point, we had to wait for the officials to come out, inspect the cars, make sure we were good to continue on. My car was good to go. Unfortunately, he had to get flatbed towed out, and we had to wait for him to make repairs for the next half of the battle. After Chelsea and his team were able to make the repairs to their car, we pulled back up to the line to do the second half of our battle where I was to lead. Knowing that I was on a big deficit from making contact with him and getting the fault for that, I knew that pretty much I just had to go out and do a 100-point run, or as close to as I could. Lights went out, off I went, filled the full rear zone, went to touch and go. Inner clip 1 was great. I think I ended up leaving outer zone 2 just a hair early, big flick towards the wall and through the finish line. Felt super good on that run, but knew that I had a pretty big deficit from the accident that I caused in the first battle. So was hoping that maybe at some point behind me he made some kind of mistake that we'd be able to get a 1 more time at best. Unfortunately, he was able to keep composure behind me, keep a good proximity to me, and just kind of follow me around the track, able to kind of mimic my line and finish all the way through without really any hiccups. So the judges at this point awarded him the win and ended my day today, unfortunately. Huge shout out to the team for keeping me hydrated all weekend. It was really hot out here. The sun was just baking us all day. So huge shout out to them for keeping me ready, keeping the car ready, and just having everything ready on time when we needed it. And another huge shout out to all my sponsors. Thank you guys for all your support this season. I'm super excited to go back to Texas. I really enjoyed that track. We got a 2-day trek back home, do a little once over the car, get our cosmetics back together, and back out to Texas for round 7. So I can't wait to get out there, and I hope to see you guys there. I know, I talk fast. Is that okay? Can you slow me down?
Can you slow me down? Or then you can just